Romany is any of several languages of the Romani people belonging to the Indo-Aryan branch of the Indo-European language family. According to Ethnologue, 7 varieties of Romani are divergent enough to be considered languages of their own. The largest of these are Vlax Romani, Balkan Romani, and Sin Romani. Some Romani communities speak mixed languages based on the surrounding language with retained Romani-derived vocabulary. These are known by linguists as para-Romani varieties, rather than dialects of the Romani language itself. The differences between various varieties can be as big as, for example, differences between various Slavic languages. Name. Speakers of the Romani language usually refer to the language as Romani Chib, the Romani language, or Romanes, in a Rom way. This derives from the Romani word Rom, meaning either a member of the group or husband. This is also where the term Roma derives in English, although some Roma groups refer to themselves using other demonyms. The English spelling, Romani language, may also be found, reflecting a different transcription of the Romani phoneme. Before the late 19th century, English language texts usually referred to the language as the Gypsy language. Classification. In the 18th century, it was shown by comparative studies that Romani belongs to the Indo-European language family. Romani is an Indo-Aryan language with strong Balkan influence. It is the only new Indo-Aryan language spoken exclusively outside of the Indian subcontinent. Romani is sometimes classified in the central or northwestern branch of Indo-Aryan, and sometimes treated as a group of its own. Romani also shares many linguistic features and vocabulary with the Punjabi dialects not found in the central branch of Indo-Aryan languages. Romani shares a number of features with the Central Indo-Aryan languages. The most significant isoglosses are the shift of Old Indo-Aryan RTU or I and Ks to KH. However, unlike other Central Indo-Aryan languages, Romani preserves many dental clusters. This implies that Romani split from the Central Indo-Aryan languages before the Middle Indo-Aryan period. However, Romani shows some features of New Indo-Aryan, such as erosion of the original nominal case system towards a nominative oblique dichotomy, with new grammaticalized case suffixes added on. This means that the Romani exodus from India could not have happened until late in the first millennium CE. Many words are similar to the Marwari language spoken in large parts of India. However, the Romani language is nearer to the Marwari language spoken in Rajasthan, India. Romani also shows some similarity to the Northwest Indo-Aryan languages. In particular, the grammaticalization of enclitic pronouns as person markers on verbs is also found in languages such as Kashmiri and Shina. This evidences a northwest migration during the split from Central Indo-Aryan, consistent with the later migration to Europe. Based on these data, Matras views Romani as kind of Indian hybrid, a Central Indic dialect that had undergone partial convergence with Northern Indic languages, in terms of its grammatical structures. Romani is conservative in maintaining almost intact the Middle Indo-Aryan present tense person concord markers, and in maintaining consonantal endings for nominal case, both features that have been eroded in most other modern Indo-Aryan languages. Romani shows a number of phonetic changes that distinguish it from other Indo-Aryan languages, in particular, the devoicing of voiced aspirates, shift of medial TD to L, of shorter to E, initial KH to X, roticization of retroflex D, T, DD, TT, DH etc., to R and shift of inflectional A to O. After exiting the Indian subcontinent, Romani was heavily affected by European contact languages. The most significant of these was Byzantine Greek, which contributed lexically, phonemically, and grammatically to early Romani. This includes inflectional affixes for nouns, and verbs that are still productive with borrowed vocabulary, the shift of O-word order, and the adoption of a preposed definite article. Early Romani also borrowed from Armenian and Iranian languages. Romani and Omari share some similarities. agglutination of postpositions of the second layer to the nominal stem, concord markers for the past tense, the neutralization of gender marking in the plural, and the use of the oblique case as an accusative. This has prompted much discussion about the relationships between these two languages. Romani was once thought to be the sister language of Romany, the two languages having split after the departure from the Indian subcontinent. But more recent research suggests that the differences between them are significant enough to treat them as two separate languages within the Central Zone group of languages. The Dom and the Rom therefore likely descend from two different migration waves out of India, separated by several centuries. Numerals in the Romani, Domari and Low-Mavran languages, with Hindi and Persian forms for comparison. Note that Romani 7 to 9 are borrowed from Greek history. The first attestation of Romani is from 1542 CE in Western Europe. The earlier history of the Romani language is completely undocumented, and is understood primarily through comparative linguistic evidence. Linguistic evaluation carried out in the 19th century by Pott and Miklosic showed the Romani language to be a new Indo-Aryan language, not a Middle Indo-Aryan, establishing that the ancestors of the Romani could not have left India significantly earlier than AD 1000. The principal argument favoring immigration during or after the transition period to Nia is the loss of the old system of nominal case, and its reduction to just a two-way case system, nominative versus oblique. A secondary argument concerns the system of gender differentiation. Romani has only two genders. Middle Indo-Aryan languages generally had three genders, and some modern Indo-Aryan languages retain this old system even today. It is argued that loss of the neuter gender did not occur until the transition to Nia. Most of the neuter nouns became masculine while a few feminine, like the neuter in the Prakrit, became the feminine in Hindi and Jag in Romani. The parallels in grammatical gender evolution between Romani and other Nia languages have been cited as evidence that the forerunner of Romani remained on the Indian subcontinent until her later period, perhaps even as late as the 10th century. There is no historical proof to clarify who the ancestors of the Romani were or what motivated them to emigrate from the Indian subcontinent, but there are various theories. The influence of Greek, and to a lesser extent of the Iranian languages and Armenian, points to a prolonged stay in Anatolia after the departure from South Asia. The Mongol invasion of Europe beginning in the first half of the 13th century triggered another westward migration. The Romani arrived in Europe and afterwards spread to the other continents. The great distances between the scattered Romani groups led to the development of local community distinctions. The differing local influences have greatly affected the modern language, splitting it into a number of different dialects. Today Romani is spoken by small groups in 42 European countries. A project at Manchester University in England is transcribing Romani dialects, many of which are on the brink of extinction, for the first time. Dialects. Today's dialects of Romani are differentiated by the vocabulary accumulated since their departure from Anatolia, as well as through divergent phonemic evolution and grammatical features. Many Roma no longer speak the language or speak various new contact languages from the local language with the addition of Romani vocabulary. Dialect differentiation began with the dispersal of the Romani from the Balkans around the 14th century and on, and with their settlement in areas across Europe in the 16th and 17th centuries. The two most significant areas of divergence are the southeast and west-central Europe. The central dialects replace S in grammatical paradigms with H. The west northern dialects append J, simplify NDR to R, retain N in the nominalizer IPEN, IBEN, and lose adjectival past tense in and transitives. Other isoglosses motivate the division into Balkan, VLAX, Central, Northeast, and Northwest dialects. A long-standing common categorization was a division between the VLAX from non-VLAX dialects. VLAX are those Roma people who lived many centuries in the territory of Romania in slavery. The main distinction between the two groups is the degree to which their vocabulary is borrowed from Romanian. Bernard Gilliath Smith first made this distinction, and coined the term VLAX in 1915 in the book The Report on the Gypsy Tribes of Northeast Bulgaria. The VLAX dialect group, now seen as just one of about 10 groups, has nevertheless become very widespread geographically. Matras has argued for a theory of geographical classification of Romany dialects, which is based on the diffusion in space of innovations. According to this theory, early Romany was brought to Western and other parts of Europe through population migrations of Rom in the 14th–15th centuries. These groups settled in the various European regions during the 16th and 17th centuries, acquiring fluency in a variety of contact languages. Changes emerged then, which spread in wave-like patterns, creating the dialect differences attested today. According to Matras, there were two major centers of innovations. Some changes emerged in Western Europe, spreading eastwards. Other emerged in the Wallachian area, spreading to the west and south. In addition, many regional and local isoglosses formed, creating a complex wave of language boundaries. Matras points to the prothesis J in arrow greater than Jara, and OV greater than JOV, he, as typical examples of west to east diffusion, and of addition of prothetica in Bijav greater than Abajav as a typical east to west spread. His conclusion is that dialect differences formed in situ, and not as a result of different waves of migration. According to this classification, the dialects are split as follows. Northern Romany dialects in Western and Northern Europe, Southern Italy and the Iberian Peninsula. Central Romany dialects from Southern Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, Carpathian Ruthenia and Southeastern Austria. Balkan Romany dialects, including the Black Sea Coast dialects. VLAX Romany dialects, centered around the historical Wallachian and Transylvanian regions, without migrants in various regions throughout Europe and beyond. SIL Ethnologue has the following classification. Balkan Romany Alia Dzimbazitan as Romany. Northern Romany Baltic Romany Estonian Romany Latvian Romany North Russian Romany Polish Romany White Russian Romany Carpathian Romany East Slovakian Romany Moravian Romany West Slovakian Romany Kalo-Finnish Romany Sint Romany Abruzzi Serbian Romany Slovenian Croatian Romany Welsh Romany VLAX Romany Turari Eastern VLAX Romany Gaga Grekujar Kalderash Loveri Makvano North Albanian Romany Sedentary Bulgaria Romany Sedentary Romania Romany Serbo-Bosnian Romany South Albanian Romany Ukraine Moldavia Romany Zarganzi. In a series of articles, Marcel Courtiade proposed a different kind of classification. He concentrates on the dialectal diversity of Romany in three successive strata of expansion, using the criteria of phonological and grammatical changes. Finding the common linguistic features of the dialects, he presents the historical evolution from the first stratum to the second and third strata. He also names as Poga dialects those with only a Romany vocabulary grafted into a non-Romany language. A table of some dialectal differences. The first stratum includes the oldest dialects: Mekari, Kabuai, Zanjori, Drindari, Early, Ali, Bugurja, Mahareri, Ursari, Spoitori, Kapatichi, Polska Roma, Kala, Sinta-Manush, and the so-called Baltic dialects. In the second there are Surgeri, Gerbeta, Jambashi, Fisheri, Philippi. The third comprises the rest of the so-called Gypsy dialects, including Kalderash, Loveri, Makvano. Mixed languages. Some Romanys have developed mixed languages, including, in Northern Europe, Anglo-Romani, Scottish Cant Scando-Romani. On the Iberian Peninsula, a Rominsular Kala. In southeastern Europe, Romano-Greek, Romano-Serbian. In the Caucasus, Low-Mavran. Geographic distribution. Romany is the only Indo-Aryan language spoken almost exclusively in Europe. The most concentrated areas of Romany speakers are found in southeastern Europe, in particular in Macedonia, Bulgaria, and Romania. Although there are no reliable figures for the exact number of Romany speakers, it may be the largest minority language of the European Union. Status. The language is recognized as a minority language in many countries. At present, the only places in the world where Romany is employed as an official language are the Republic of Kosovo and the municipality of Shut Orazari within the administrative borders of the Macedonian capital of Skopje. The first efforts to publish in Romany were undertaken in the interwar Soviet Union and in communist Yugoslavia. Some traditional communities have expressed opposition to codifying Romany or having it used in public functions. However, the mainstream trend has been towards standardization. Different variants of the language are now in the process of being codified in those countries with high Romany populations. There are also some attempts currently aimed at the creation of a unified standard language. A standardized form of Romany is used in Serbia, and in Serbia's autonomous province of Vojvodina. Romany is one of the officially recognized languages of minorities, having its own radio stations and news broadcasts. In Romania, a country with a sizable Romani minority, there is a unified teaching system of the Romani language for all dialects spoken in the country. This is primarily a result of the work of Georg Husariu, who made Romani textbooks for teaching Romani children in the Romani language. He teaches a purified, mildly prescriptive language, choosing the original Indo-Aryan words and grammatical elements from various dialects. The pronunciation is mostly like that of the dialects from the first stratum. When there are more variants in the dialects, the variant that most closely resembles the oldest forms is chosen, like Bayev instead of Abayev, Abai, or Akana instead of Akanak, Shunav instead of Ashunav or Ashunau, etc. An effort is also made to derive new words from the vocabulary already in use, i.e., Zarievna, Vortoran, Palplida Hibnasko, Pashnavni. There is an ever-changing set of borrowings from Romanian as well, including such terms as Rumi, Primaria, Frishka, SF and II. Hindi-based neologisms include Bili, Misal, Chitro, Lekipen, while there are also English-based neologisms, like printasel less than, to print. Romani is now used on the Internet, in some local media, and in some countries as a medium of instruction.